lot of practice.
That apartment. Oh yeah, you know, and that was just little. But this is like the big one. Yeah, these two are the big ones.
Hi, it's Mo. It is June 27th, and I have started my TBR spin book, How to Pronounce Knife, by Sylvayankam Damaganza. This is a short story collection by a Laotian Canadian author, and if you are unfamiliar with the TBR spin, it is a super fun booktube game where at the beginning of the year we pick 12 books off of our physical TBR, off of our audio TBR, off of our e-TBR, on our TBR somewhere to read throughout the month. And then Sarah from Freshly Read Books spins a wheel with prompts on it at the end of each month for the next month, where those prompts lead us to a book off of our stack. So in January we had 12 books. Sarah spun the wheel. Using that prompt, we pick a book off of our stack. We read that book, and then towards the end of the month of January, Sarah spun the wheel again. We picked our February book. In the end of February, we picked our March book, etc., etc. I've been behind all year until May. I did read my May book in May, and I am reading my June book in June. I have started this book. It is only 179 pages. It is, like I said, a short story collection. There are, looks like 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14 stories in it. They are pretty short. They're all like 10 pages or less. And I have read quite a few. I read How to Pronounce Knife, which is the titular story, and this is about a young girl who gets notes sent home from school, and she wonders why her parents don't read the notes that are sent home from school. And then one day she has a homework assignment, and she is stumped on one word in the homework assignment, so she asks her dad how to pronounce knife. Paris is the next story, and that one was about a young woman who works at a factory or a plant doing like manual labor, and it is about this woman being different from other women, how that affects her life, and her own thoughts on her own like beauty and worth and things like that. And then Slingshot is about an older woman in her 70s who has an affair with a much younger man. Randy Travis was about the main character's mother being obsessed with Randy Travis and kind of clinging on to different things that she sees in America to feel more at home there, or I guess in Canada to feel more at home there. Manny Petty was about an ex-boxer who goes to work at his sister's nail salon, and Chickachi was about two siblings, a brother and sister, learning how to trick-or-treat. And then I am on the next story, which is The Universe Could Be So Cruel. So how many stories was that? I read, let's see, 5 out of the 14 stories, so I have quite a few more to go, but I'm almost halfway through the book, so I guess these stories are going to be shorter and probably go quicker. So far, I am enjoying this book. I think there are a lot of themes of immigration and immigrant life and how fitting in is important, but how retaining yourself and your culture and your ideas is also important. It has a lot of themes of self-love and respecting yourself and knowing yourself when you feel like no one else can know you. It definitely is a little bit sad. Like, I think all these stories are tinged with a sadness of distance of people, of feeling othered, of being other, because you retain your culture, because you retain your self-love and yourself, and that not giving in to the social norms or not giving in to societal views does set people apart from the society at large. So I think this one's really interesting so far. I misspoke when I talked about this one. I said that Books and Lala didn't like this one, but she gave it a 5 on Goodreads, so she must have liked it. I don't think that Jen Campbell, I'm not sure what her channel is called, really enjoyed this one, but I thought this is interesting. I think it's always interesting too to read Canadian authors, because especially in America, we think of Canada just being like another section of America, but I do think that a lot of the ideals are different. Like I do always feel a different vibe from Canadian books than I do from American books, and some of these stories are set in America and some of them are about American things like Randy Travis and Southern music and things like that. But there's still just a different cultural perspective that I think as an American, you don't expect as much from Canada. And then being a Laotian book and these stories mostly being about Laotian immigrants or children of Laotian immigrants, there's obviously interesting cultural references there too. I don't think I've ever read a Laotian author before. I have read books about Laos or having Laos characters. So that also I'm enjoying. And overall, I'm enjoying these stories. I don't think any of them are going to really stick with me. Like the one about the older woman having an affair with a younger man, I thought was fairly powerful when I first read it, and I was like, oh, I was like a little shocked and I was like a little interested, and I got a very specific feeling from it, like a very specific nostalgic feeling of a time and place from it. But I didn't even remember that like until I just explained to you what it was about. So I don't think that these stories are really going to stick with me, but this is definitely an author that I would continue to look out for and I would read more of after I complete these stories, even only being halfway through. I kind of already know that. I'm looking forward to finishing this. I will let you know what the other stories are about and I will let you know how I get on with them. And then at the end of this video, we will pick my next TBR Spin book. If you haven't joined the TBR Spin, it's not too late. You can pick July, August, September, October, November, December. Pick 6 books now. I think that as I'm filming this on the 27th, Sarah has already spun the wheel. Definitely check her channel out below for that and any other TBR Spin information that you want or need, because she is the creator of this reading challenge. This year for the TBR Spin, she's been doing reading sprints and the spin to combined. I haven't made it to any of the reading sprints. Like I haven't finished my book in time to make it to any of the reading sprints. I do plan on finishing this one either in the end of June, I have 4 or 5 more days, and then or in the very beginning of July, and still being on track. Like to me, that's still on track. It's a very fun game, so definitely think about joining. If you haven't tried it already, just try it. 6 books, spin the wheel, see what you get, read that book in the month, and then see how you feel if you want to continue to participate. I vlog all my TBR Spin books, so there is a playlist listed down below for I think all the years that I've done the TBR Spin. And when I read some more, I will let you know. That's cool. It is July 13th, and a few days ago I finished How to Pronounce Knife. I started it pretty late, and then it took me a while to finish it because I was just reading a story every once in a while because I was reading a bunch of other things as well. I do want to just say, look at this shirt I got. It says Malcolm X, and then it has like Malcolm X on the back. I don't know if I can wear it out. It's like a weird combo of like a celebrity shirt or like a TV show shirt or like a musician shirt and Malcolm X. But I was like, well, I do kind of idolize Malcolm X, so maybe I need this shirt. I don't know if I can wear it like out though. It seems weird to wear it out. But for myself, for my comfort, it's also not super soft, but it's that kind of material that's like a little like rough but comfortable. So anyway, I'm excited. Back to How to Pronounce Knife. I was telling you a little bit about each story, but I don't remember which stories. Let's see. The universe would be so cruel. I think that's where we left off. Oh, and that was about a man who makes traditional wedding invitations, Laotian wedding invitations. That one was interesting. The Edge of the World was about a woman realizing that her mother was obsessed with soap operas and like kind of what the significance of American soap operas was to like her mother's mental health. The School Bus Driver is about a man who is a school bus driver and his relationship with his wife. You Are So Embarrassing is about a young girl rebelling against her mother's more traditional upbringing and lifestyle. Orc, which is a funny word, and I feel like I've read quite a few books with this word in it recently because that was the exact same sound that the mutant bear things made in born, and this was about a young girl coming of age and coming into like her hormones in her body. The gas station was about a young woman who thinks she is unlovable but who has a fondness for a man she meets at a gas station. The Far Distance is about a young girl living with her dad and the things that you think are important. And then Picking Worms is about a young woman who goes to work with her mother picking worms. So all these stories are really about heritage and cultural identity and what happens when you are no longer connected with that cultural identity or that heritage, when you have moved to a different country, when you have grown out of things, when you have grown up between two worlds or two heritage or two cultural touchstones, right? And then all of them are also about connections. So the connections that we make with the people that we identify with, the connections that we try to make with those that we don't identify with, the othering that people feel, people of color especially who come from strong cultural backgrounds feel when they are forced into American or Canadian society. First generation immigrants, second generation immigrants, people who grew up in one place and how they adjust to a new way of living, why they left where they left, and the connections that are left behind, the connections that are formed in the new places. So pretty typical themes that you see in a lot of books by people of color who have immigrant parents, but something that like never gets old, something that's always interesting, something that always has unique aspects to that culture or to that person or to their ideas or to their experience. So I really, really liked all of these short stories. I think all of them were really interesting, and something that I loved about this collection is that none of the stories felt incomplete. None of them felt like rush jobs. None of them felt like they were supposed to go on to be bigger stories. None of them felt like, some of them felt like they could have gone on and been better stories, but they didn't feel like they were half-formed ideas. They felt like they were full ideas, full stories, and I love that about a collection. You probably know, but I don't like collections where it seems like a draft. I don't like collections where, especially when an author becomes popular, their work is just thrown in half-finished. I don't like short stories that seem half-finished. I don't mind if the story isn't finished. I don't mind if the idea isn't finished. I don't mind if you have to make up some of what happens next or what's supposed to happen, but I do not like when the writing doesn't feel complete. And these all felt very well encapsulated. They all felt complete. They didn't all have like a sting at the end, which I do love in short stories. They didn't all have a final punch or a reveal or a aha moment or an oh moment, but they all felt very complete and whole, and they all took you to the place that the stories were trying to take you to, I think is a good way to say that. I did like the connections. I liked the parental connections, and I liked that some of these stories were about older people trying to connect with people that they would never have connected with in their previous lives. So now they're in this life and they're connecting with new types of people, new experiences, making connections that they didn't think they would ever have. So I really did enjoy this one. I don't think any of these stories will like stick with me and I'll remember them specifically for a long time. So I will definitely keep this one and reread it. I'm super excited that Zamaganza has a new book coming out. I think either this year or next year. I would love to read a longer book because these stories were also well formed. I would really like to see like a long story from this author. So I'm excited about that. Great collection, I think. And probably a good way to get into short stories if you are on the fence about short stories, if you're interested in like this subject matter, the general subject matter. Okay, and now it is time to pick my July TBR spin. So let me see. So like I said, How to Pronounce Knife was my June book. Now we're going to pick my July book, but also, like I said, it is July 13th, so I am behind. Sarah does a live show where she does sprints, so you could like finish the book, or you could start your new book, or whatever, after they've spun the spin. I like that she does it like that. I like that the spin comes out a little early, but because I prefer to read my whole book before I see the next prompt, I haven't actually been able to join in any of the spins and sprints yet, but I do hope that that will happen to me eventually. So let's look at my stack. I have Love by Toni Morrison. This is a stand-in for the next Toni Morrison that I have to read. So I'm reading Toni Morrison this year in publication order, probably next year too. If I get this book, I will think about the next Toni Morrison that I have to read, which is Tar Baby. I don't own that one physically though, so I probably will have to read that on audio. And then I have Begin Again, James Baldwin's America and Its Urgent Lessons for Our Own by Eddie S. Glaude. This one I've just been struggling with to read or to want to read. I might, if I end up getting this book, substitute something else. Next we have The Turquoise Ledge, or Turquoise if you're British, by Leslie Marmon Silko. This is a memoir, a slave narrative, the life of Olaudah Equiano, or Gustafa Vasa the African. This one, I wish this was on audio, but this one would be a good one to read. I have not read a slave narrative in quite a while, and I always keep my eyes out for him. Another collection of short stories, Richard Wright's 8 Men. I didn't realize that Richard Wright was writing so early. I thought he was writing more in like the 50s and 60s, but he's really writing in like the 30s, 40s, and 50s. So I would be interested to read this. I know his most popular work is going to be a tough read, so I would be happy to read this short story collection to dip my toe into Richard Wright. And then I have 2 copies of Cain, which is a short American narrative that I would also like to read. I'd be happy to get Cain, partly because it's short, partly because it's been on my list forever. I think these right now are my top 2 picks. Let's watch the spin and find out what we get. Ooh, okay. For July, our pick is a book that features a landscape on the cover or location in the title. That is fun. So, Love is out, and the next Toni Morrison is out because I don't have a physical copy, so I don't know what the book looks like. Begin Again, I'm not going to call this a landscape, it's like an interior. Olaudah Equiano narrative out. 8 Men, no, these are more like portraits. And then we have Cain, which has a landscape on both covers, and we have The Turquoise Ledge, which clearly has also a desert landscape. So I think, man, I do want to read The Turquoise Ledge as well. This one does sound really cool. And this one I think is on audio too, and I wonder if Leslie Marmon Silko narrates it. Let me look that up really quick. That might be a determining factor. Let me see. Okay, the audiobook for Cain is 6 hours and 50 minutes. The audiobook for The Turquoise Ledge is 10 hours and 43 minutes, and it is not narrated by Leslie Marmon Silko. Alright, I think I'm going to read Cain because I have been wanting to read this one. It has been on my want to read a lot. I think that this definitely counts as a landscape, more even than this one. I mean, this is a landscape too, and more even than this one because like this shows you like all the progression of the different landscape, which is very cool. So we are going to read Cain in July, and it's so short. I wonder if I should just try to like read this right away. Oh, it's really interesting too. I've never really looked at it, but it has almost some poetry in it. Or are they songs maybe? Are they ring shouts? Fascinating. Yeah, okay, I'm excited now. I'm definitely going to read this one. Let me know if you're participating in the TBR spin. Let me know what you got for July. Maybe I can get back on track. I say this every video, but maybe I can get on track and maybe I can pick the August book with the spin. That would be pretty exciting. So let me know all those things in the comments below. Thanks so much for joining me today, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye! Those are so beautiful.